Hey people, CzarThwomp here, and welcome to episode 5 of Dual Destinies. Last time, Juniper was accused of assaulting Apollo after her name was found written in blood on the floor of courtroom number 4. But we're proving that she didn't do it because the bomb case was moved. Anyways, let's get going.
She's obviously lying!
Objection!
The fact that the case was moved after the assault of Mr. Justice is proved by more than Miss Wood's testimony alone.
What? And where is this proof you're talking about?
It's right here in the crime photo. I'm keen to see this proof myself, Mr. Wright. What in the photo indicates that the transport case was moved after the assault? Apollo! Apollo himself! Apollo repulsed the cart. His mullet disgusted the cart so much it moved on its own.
Take that!
All the proof he needs here, Your Honor. I was pointing to the skid marks! I was pointing to the freaking skid marks! It was the skid marks! I was telling you about the freaking skid marks! It's the skid marks! The skid! Oh yeah, you have to point out it's not just the skid marks on the ground there. No, it's the skid marks on Apollo's Batman bandages. Please take a look at the mark that runs over Mr. Justice's bandages here. I see it, but what is it? This mark was made by one of the casters from the transport case carrying the bomb. And darn CzarThwomp, why are you flipping my lines? I am not Samugi. As the case was moved, it ran over his bandages. In other words, the transport case was originally to the right of Mr. Justice. Then, after Mr. Justice was assaulted, the transport case was moved. What? Just as Miss Wood said, the case was covering the writing at the time of the assault. Therefore, it was impossible for Mr. Justice to have left that message in blood.
No!
Yeah, I love how my Gasman was transitioning to Winston.
You did it, boss! It was a real nail biter, but you pulled it off!
Yup, that should bring down the prosecution's claim like a house of cards. Order in the court, Mr. Wright. That was a very clever deduction. Aw, it was nothing, Your Honor. Nothing but pure genius. Take that! Pure genius and pure bluffing, more like it. Boss, I'm sensing a definite smug and braggy vibe coming from you. You're looking like a douche right now.
Uh...
I have just one question, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor? If Mr. Justice didn't leave this message in blood, then who did? Huh? What?
Ow!
Well... Looks like I should have taken that train of thought through to the last station. Yeah, I love the thing is like, autosave, B! You're not gonna have any chance to get out of this.
Well, I've heard a lot about this. So this is Mr. Wright's famous bluffing technique, isn't it?
Oh, this feeling. It brings back memories of the old days. Back when you carved out a name for yourself by bluffing your way through thick and thin.
Gee, Mr. Wright, the judge kind of makes you sound no better than a two-bit con man. You made your argument with such confidence, Mr. Wright. Now I'd like to hear your answer with just as much confidence.
Hey, until the judge asked the question, you didn't catch on either, Buster.
What now, boss? I hope you didn't bluff your way into a corner.
Think, Phoenix, think. There must be a way through this. Why is the camera zooming in on me? Hey, camera guy, stop zooming in on me. Stop zooming in on me. Hey, the camera's getting a little close. The camera's getting really close. I'm starting to feel uncomfortable. I have to dig my way to the truth somehow. Who could have written that message in blood? Apollo! The person who wrote the bloody message was none other than Mr. Justice. Pardon me?
What?
Huh?
Mr. Wright! Did you just bear saying that it couldn't have been Apollo? And don't try to blame it on old age.
Oh yeah, I did just say that, didn't I?
Not only does your head resemble a bird, but seems to have a bird brain as well.
Mr. Wright, please try to think before you speak. I better give that another try. Someone else! If it was Apollo, who could... Okay. Okay, so apparently we do have to take a penalty. I thought I was going to basically do it. I'm just going to go with it, just see if we can go around it. This person will find the bloody writing, and what do you base this claim on? Do I really need to base my claim on something? Boss! Of course you do! Don't tell me you don't have anything at all to back up your assertion. Nothing in particular, really. That won't do, Mr. Wright, but a penalty will make up for your deficiency very nicely.
Ugh! So it wasn't Apollo or his attacker. When you think of it, basically... Yes, I know I know who it was. Yes, basically, it's all the assailant. I knew the answer, but I just wanted to see. I wanted to see if it would give a goofy response. I didn't think they'd actually penalize. Okay. Oh, right. Yeah, I guess I was going down the correct path. I didn't realize it. To be honest, I don't actually have any real proof of this. But I've come to this far. There's no turning back now. Besides Apollo, there was one more person who shed blood at this crime scene.
A person who shed blood?
Yeah, I thought that I was going down the wrong path. So I could get all the answers. Because basically, technically, it was Apollo's attacker who basically altered the blood on the ground. So basically, that's what kind of tripped me up.
A person who shed blood? You don't mean...
Oh, but I do. I believe it was Candice Arme, who left behind this message in blood.
What?
What? Detective Arme? Are you sure you know what you're doing here? Not really. What kind of ridiculous assertion is that? If you had said the attacker left the message to throw people off, it might have made sense. At first glance, that would seem to be the most reasonable explanation. However, Apollo didn't shed enough blood to write such an extensive message. And I should know, I've seen Trucy's shows. The guy bruises like a peach. Uh-oh.
Oh, I see. Even the photo makes it clear there wasn't enough blood to write all those letters. And Mr. Justice did survive. I suppose he didn't bleed very extensively in that case.
But why would Detective Arme write the defendant's name? There's no connection between the two whatsoever. And I didn't even know the lady who was killed. I admit the investigation didn't turn up any connection between the victim and the defendant. They had never even met each other.
That's very true. Well then, let's see. Then maybe the intended meaning of the message is not what it appears to be. The intended meaning?
Not what it appears to be.
Maybe the message was not intended to be woods. Coming from you, that's quite the bold statement, Mr. Wright. You wish to assert that this bloody writing could have some other meaning?
Yes, Your Honor. For something I pulled out of a wormhole, it could turn out to be true, right?
Objection!
It clearly says woods, as anyone can plainly see. What other meaning could it possibly have?
Objection!
But Candice Arme was a detective. Maybe woods only means something to the police. Like a police scanner code, for example.
I didn't think of that.
You may have tricked His Honor, but you'll never get the best of me. Wait, how long have we been recording? Okay, 9 minutes. Okay, let me just adjust this accordingly. There we go. I have a thing for studying on the weekends, as you may have already guessed. My manners class being the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, too bad I didn't give gas in my Kokichi voice. That is right. I am the king of the weekends. I am the weekend master of the Aisatani realms. And there is no such radio code as woods in this state, dear Wright. Is that a fact? Don't look at me. I know as much as you do about police codes.
Enough of this. I was quite taken with the defense's new theory. But if they can't substantiate with anything, then I must end things here.
No, please wait, Your Honor.
Very well, but before we discuss this theory any further, I demand a plausible explanation. So, Mr. Wright, what is the true meaning of the bloody writing?
Well, I believe it's...
And no stalling! If you can't go with an answer quickly, I will declare this discussion officially over.
I'm in trouble now. What other meaning could it have besides the obvious one? Maybe it means something in another language, or maybe it's a code. Think, Phoenix. You can do this.
Which piece of evidence will tell us what the word woods really means?
Take that!
The bomb transport case? I've had about had enough to hear with your shenanigans, Mr. Wright.
Take a look at the numbers on this case, Your Honor. L10015R. Doesn't this string look vaguely familiar?
L100. What does that have to do with anything?
What could those numbers possibly have to do with the case at hand? Now, please, take a look at this bloody writing showing the crime photo. Oh, think I see it. That a girl. That's one on my side. It says wood.
It says woods.
Or you could say it's a horse of a different color, Your Honor. The first character isn't a W. It's actually an L and a 1. And the next are 2 zeros.
Oh, my goodness!
The true meaning behind the bloody writing isn't Miss Wood's name. It's the number engraved on this bomb transport case. What are you talking about? The next part doesn't make any sense. The next number is a 1, but the bloody writing says D.
Objection!
But the number on the case and the bloody writing can be made to match up quite easily. This is how the number on the transport case can be made to match the bloody writing. Read it backwards. Please erase the third downward stroke of the W and the curved part of the D.
Whoa, would you look at that? Lewis! Quickly, arrest someone named Lewis!
No, Your Honor. It isn't meant to be read as a word. It's the number L10015, which if you take away the final R, it's the exact same number that's on the bomb transport case. Erase 2 lines and they match up, you say? Well, I can change anything to anything else simply by erasing 2 lines. What if we erase 2 lines from your name? Would you be happy as Mr. Rye?
Well, would you, Mr. Rye?
The only right spelling is right. Okay, I'm doing pretty well here, and I think I've drawn the right conclusion. Detective Arme's real message to us is the bomb transport case number. Your Honor, the 2 lines were added by the real culprit to intentionally mislead people. What? The original message Detective Arme left behind was the transport case number, but whoever assaulted Apollo changed the message. If you're right, boss, then what do you suppose Detective Arme was trying to tell us? Good question. What does this number represent? Do you see this number here? That is my identification number. Candice Arme lost her life in the courtroom bombing. Her dying message could only have had one purpose. No! To tell us the name of the one responsible for the bombing.
Whoa, don't keep us in suspense, Mr. Wright. Tell us who she was trying to name.
The culprit that the victim was trying to identify is none other than Apollo! The mass bomber himself!
Take that!
The defense wishes to indict Mr. Ted Tonate on the charge of the courtroom bombing.
The Ted Tonate?
Apparently, disabling bombs is in Mr. Tonate's only specialty. Somehow, the victim must have realized that he was the bomber. So when she was caught in the blast, she left his bomb transport case number as her final dying message. She used Mr. Tonate's own ID number to finger him for the crime.
Objection!
Why would anyone go out of their way to write an ID number? Wouldn't they simply write the person's name? He's got a good point there.
What do you have to say to that, Mr. Wright?
That only Detective Arme would know the answer to that, but allow me to offer a theory. Perhaps Detective Arme couldn't recall Mr. Tonate's name in the heat of the moment.
As I recall, this was the first meeting between the two. It's entirely possible they wouldn't have been familiar with each other. Or maybe using the ID number was a way to hide its true meaning from the real culprit, thus lowering the odds that they would erase the bloody writing. But no matter what the reason, the important thing is the meaning behind her message. The fact remains she wrote Mr. Tonate's ID number.
Objection!
Now, just one moment here. There hasn't been any proof yet that it was indeed Detective Arme who wrote it. The bloody writing wasn't found during the investigation after the blast. If Detective Arme had left the message, it should have been found at that time.
Objection!
Naturally, Mr. Tonate hid it before anyone could discover it, and there's a simple explanation for how he was able to do so.
What?
Mr. Tonate was able to cover the message up because he, a stickler for detail, was wearing those weird-ass goggles first to find the body. The first person to discover the bloody writing was Mr. Tonate himself. I was the first one on the scene after the explosion. I went there to ensure safety, but I ended up discovering a dead body. When Mr. Tonate saw that the victim had written his ID number, he used the bomb transport case to cover up the bloody writing as a stopgap measure.
Oh, so that's why the message in blood was under the transport case.
He didn't have enough time to try to scrub away the writing. If he didn't report the body right away, he would look suspicious. So those letters lived on to serve another function, when Mr. Tonate used them in another incident. Oh, the assault on Mr. Justice. Exactly. Mr. Tonate hit upon a plan to use the bloody writing for his own purposes, so he didn't clean it away. Instead, he made it look like Mr. Justice wrote it, by adding 2 lines to the writing that Detective Arme left behind. He changed the meaning of the message. He made it look like Mr. Justice was accusing Miss Woods of the attack.
So that means
The only person who could have altered the bloody writing was the courtroom bomber, who was the same person that assaulted Mr. Justice. And that person is Ted Tonate. Order in the court! Order, I say! It looks like we will have to hear from the bomb specialist himself. Mr. Barron, please have Mr. Tonate take the witness stand.
Yes, Your Honor. That was great, Mr. Wright.
Just doing what I do best, which is flying by the seat of my pants. Dismantling the case is yours. Do you think you can handle it? Now I am smug in sepia tone. My power has grown only stronger, and it shall grow stronger even yet. I look forward to seeing you try. I finally draw Mr. Tonate back onto the witness stand. Looks like you'll get your wish, Goggle Man. Now watch me take your lies apart. Mr. Tonate, I'm afraid we have a few more questions for you. I understand the situation, Your Honor. I was keeping a close eye on the proceedings from the gallery. The allegations are all laughable.
Objection!
I wouldn't be laughing if I were you, Mr. Tonate. The message in blood matches your ID number. The same ID number that is there on that bomb transport case. Such a far-fetched theory, no better than a tangled ball of wires.
I'll have them untangled for you in no time at all.
You were the first person on the scene after Detective Arme left her message in blood. You were the only one who could have hidden the writing, and then used it again later. Sorry. I see times 2. But then, let me ask you, do you have any proof that Detective Arme wrote that message? That's a very good question. Well, do you, Mr. Wright? The best way to prove that Detective Arme wrote that message is to... Your Honor, I request that a DNA test be performed on the blood itself. Once we know who it is, it will be obvious as to who wrote the message. Very well. Bailiff, please by request for a DNA test with the forensics team. Yes, Your Honor. It will be some time before we have the results of the analysis. Until then, let's hear more from the witness. I would like nothing more, Your Honor, as well as to see the alert on CzarThwomp's screen. I want the court to hear how ridiculous the defense's theory is. after the explosion. I admit I was the first one on the scene after the explosion, but there was no bloody writing there at the time. Anyways, there is no way Detective Arme could have written it. She struck her head on rubble and died near the courtroom entrance. She was too far away from where the bloody message was found. So you're saying that the victim's body was nowhere near where the writing was? Precisely, it is as plain as day that she could not have written it.
It's true that the body was discovered near the entrance to the courtroom. Please have a look at this crime scene photo. As you can see, there is blood on the rubble near the victim's body. She must have died after hitting her head there.
I see. All right then, Mr. Wright. You may cross-examine the witness. Do you have what it takes to take my infallible testimony apart? After the explosion.
Hold it!
Why were you the first person on the scene? To secure the area, it is regulation for a bomb disposal specialist to enter first. In other words, you had the opportunity to after the bloody writing then, didn't you? Well...
Objection!
Mr. Wright, please don't interrupt. Mr. Tonate is about to give testimony that will show just how wrong your reasoning is.
Darn, I think he was just about to say something interesting too. When I went in and saw the aftermath, well, it was quite the disaster.
Hold it!
You were able to tell this even with those goggles on. With these goggles, there is no way I could have missed something like that. I can see quite well with them. I can see every hair on your spiky head. Oh, you have a few grays, Mr. Wright. What?
Poor Mr. Wright, he's decrepit and ancient.
You're always working so hard, keeping our office together. Wait a minute, I don't have any gray hairs. Just kidding.
Objection!
Mr. Tonate, this court frowns upon untoward comments on a person's hair or lack thereof.
I'm sensing a great wave of sorrow coming from the judge.
My apologies, Your Honor. May I please continue my testimony? Okay, I just need to quickly write something. Okay, sorry about that.
Hold it!
If she didn't write it, then who do you propose did? Mr. Justice, of course. Just before dying, he wrote the name of his attacker, Juniper Woods.
A final message from your poor subordinate.
Poor Mr. Justice. I'm sorry to kill him, Misty-eyed. Apollo's not dead, folks.
So how can you be sure it wasn't Detective Arme who wrote that message?
It is very simple. Okay.
Hold it!
Do you imagine she was thrown back by the force of the blast? A bomb can inflict damage not only from the explosion itself, but also substantial secondary damage from the blast wind.
Detective Arme unfortunately hit her head on some rubble. It's stated in her autopsy report as well, cause of death, trauma to back of head.
The autopsy report. I'd better take another look at that. Now do you see, Detective Arme could not have written that message. The reason for that being...
Hold it!
Isn't it possible she could have crawled to the area of the bloody message? If that were true, then how did she return to the spot near the entrance? Maybe she crawled back after writing it. Hey, did the guy just me?
Would you like to get down on the floor and give us a demonstration of your theory?
Huh? No, thank you.
The victim's body and the writing are several yards away from each other. There's no way she could reach.
Quite the conundrum. So that means something is off somewhere. There must be a contradiction. Ah, maybe the body was moved. I was about to say the bloody was moved. The blood was moved! But that doesn't explain how blood got into the rubble. What if that was done by the real culprit after the fact? If that's the case, then something about this might contradict the evidence we have. Okay. There we go.
Objection!
You are a terrible liar, Mr. Tonate. Take a look at this autopsy, specifically the part about Detective Arme's head injury. Cause of death, trauma to back of head caused by impact with a flat object. Yes, what about it? We'll answer that question in the next episode, because I think now would be a good time to end things off. Anyways, I really appreciate that you stuck around to watch this episode. You're a great viewer, and I hope you come back for the next one. If you like this video, like, subscribe, comment, share, do whatever you want. Well, that's see you next time. Bye.